Millennials, welcome to Millennial Focus Group. We're the Ava Cuties, Jamie
and Kimi.
And today we're going to talk about a simple topic related to Dungeons & Dragons, tabletop etiquette.
Yeah, I think this subject is really good for just all listeners. It's something that we really should touch on in our realm of D&D knowledge.
Yeah, if we're going to regularly be talking about D&D, then this could be something helpful for new players especially, but for anyone. So let's dive right in to this simple tabletop etiquette episode. So we are going to first talk about things that you should try not to do while playing Dungeons & Dragons with your friends. Kimi, would you like to start us off with number 1?
Yeah, so a big one, and we'll start with it, is try not to interrupt other players on their turns. And then, of course, unless they're breaking a crazy rule and you need to kind of shut that down. But it's a role-playing game where everybody has a turn. And on that player's turn, it's just very respectful to let them finish out describing what they're doing or explaining their attack. Letting them have that just moment with the DM. Not only is it just fair for that player, but also for everybody else, they can hear what's going on. They understand what's going on because it is a team effort.
It is a team effort, and at the same time, everybody has their own individual character that's going to make choices that are in character. So you can't interrupt somebody to tell them what to do. You can only say, hey, I don't think you should do that, or I think you should do this, or you can react to that situation. But that's part of the fun of Dungeons & Dragons, is seeing what other people are going to do and figuring out how you're going to react to it and interact with those people. So number 2 is keep side conversations to a minimum and be quiet. Please. Our group has trouble with this sometimes, where the DM is talking to one person who decided to do something independently during the quest, or they're explaining something that a specific person asked about, or they're in battle with other people, and then everybody else around the table is cracking jokes, having side conversations, showing something on their phone. And if you're not quiet, then it makes it impossible to hear what the DM is saying. And it's going to make it harder for the person who's talking to the DM to hear them as well. And as a teacher, this is something that I have to deal with on a daily basis too. But you will understand when you're in this situation that it truly is frustrating, especially as the DM, to try to deal with that noise and continue to explain something. And then if the other players stop having their side conversation and then ask, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What did you say? That's extremely frustrating for the DM. It's also just like you're missing out on world building and storytelling that you would be hearing if you were listening to that or participating in it. So,
and the group that we play with there's a lot of us. There's 8 of us. So having those side conversations, really, it happens all the time. And yes, they're, like Jamie said, we're cracking jokes and things like that, which make it fun, and we get that. But if that's going to happen, that needs to be at a minimum and quiet. And as a dungeon master, when we had even a larger group, I had to tell them I will not repeat myself. So if you miss something, you miss it. There were just so many people in side conversations that it almost wasn't fun to tell you what was happening. It was almost more fun to just let them suffer because I got so frustrated. Yeah, I'm not DMing right now.
Yeah. It burns people out, and it's not as big of a deal if you're playing in a group of 3 to 4 players. And if you pause for a couple of minutes to have a side conversation and crack a couple jokes, that's one thing. But when you have a large party especially, then it's like you're there, but you're not even playing D&D. So what we used to do is we would get together an hour earlier than we were going to play, and we would just chat and get caught up and, show each other memes on our phones and have a good time. And then we were a little bit settled down when it was time to play, and it was easier to stay in character.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. I like that, having the social hour before you play. Because, I know how difficult it is to get everybody together at a certain time. We do weekly, but it's been something that's been ingrained with our core group for years now. But even, bi-weekly or monthly, you've got a lot you want to talk about. That's a great idea of getting together and doing something social that's not D&D before you play. It kind of gets it out of your system.
Exactly. All right, Kimmy, will you talk about number 3?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so please leave your roles on the table. And what we mean by that is when you are asked to make a roll, or for anything, roll to hit, saving throws, whatever, you roll, leave it alone when it's done. Just let everybody see what it is. Let the DM see it if he wants to see it. It's not that we don't trust each other. It's just like, I don't care if you're the most trustworthy person, and if you rolled a 5 and you picked it up and you're like, I rolled a 5, and you're upset, that's fine, but leave it on the table. There's no reason not to, especially if you're honest. And it just keeps that standard. Leave your rolls on the table.
It's the principle of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, like you said, why would you not do that? It seems like a silly thing, but you'd be surprised how often people pick up their dice immediately after rolling. There's no reason for it. Number 4 is it's okay to question the DM's calls if you want to know why something is happening a certain way or why your attempt at an attack or an interaction was not successful. It's totally okay to question those calls or to question the DM, but you should never argue with the DM. 1, it's a little bit childish and embarrassing, and it's a little bit awkward for the other players who are watching. 2, everybody needs a dungeon master to keep the game in check so that it's not a wild free-for-all. And if you don't like the way that your DM is running the game or interpreting the rules, then you guys can discuss that after the game. And if you really don't agree, then you can play with a new DM or let somebody else in your group try DMing for a while. But there's no reason to argue with the DM because it even says in the core rulebook that ultimately everything is up to the DM's discretion. That's the way this game is played. It's a storytelling game. It's a role-playing game. It's not a video game where there's a clear-cut way to do everything. So if you're just arguing with the DM because you didn't like the way that something turned out, that's just part of D&D, and it's something that you're going to have to deal with, unfortunately. And it just causes a lot of tension and drama and discomfort for the other people who are playing the game.
Right. And on the DM side, it makes us not want to DM anymore. So if you blatantly argue with the DM during the game, I'm not saying this is not saying don't argue with them after the game. If you want to do a one-on-one with your dungeon master while everybody's gone and have at it, that's between you two. But while everybody else is there and you argue about a call, that really hurts, kind of personally, because I'm running this world for you. I've done all of this work to prep and you're going to fight me on it. What was the point then? If you don't like it, why are you here? Why are you letting me doing this? And it does. It hurts after a while, especially when they do it in front of the other players.
Yeah. DMs have feelings too, people.
We do.
So again, if you disagree with the way that somebody is running the game, that's totally fine. But talk about it after the game. Tell them why you were uncomfortable or why you did not have fun or why you disagreed. But be sure not to argue. Questioning is fine. Arguing is not. You're not always going to succeed in D&D.
Definitely.
And then finally, and this one is a personal pet peeve of mine, keep your phone out of sight or check it rarely. So I feel like people usually pull out their phones during battle because especially if you're playing with a group as large as ours, which is 8 players, which most people don't play with that many players, but especially if you're playing with a larger group, it takes a long time to get back around to your turn. However, you need to be paying enough attention to what's going on with the other players so that you understand, okay, how many enemies are left for me to fight? What works against these enemies? What doesn't? Are any of my teammates in trouble? And if you are in a conversation with somebody on your phone, or you're on social media, or you are looking at memes, you're probably not paying enough attention to the game to be able to continue to participate without holding everybody up and making it take even longer. Now, I have nothing against people just checking their phones quickly, or when they're waiting for their turn in battle, looking at something real quick or hopping on a little mini game, as long as you can still pay attention to what's going on. When this is a real problem, though, is when people are constantly on their phones the entire time you're playing, and it seems like they're not even in character trying to participate in the world.
Yeah, they're not present. They're not... It's like when you're on your phone, you're taken out of the world when you bring that up. And so by being off your phone, you can kind of stay in that mindset of the character and it just makes the game more fun. It looks bad when everybody around the table's on their phones. It looks like nobody's having fun. And that actually can bring the feeling of the group down or of the night down without you even realizing it. But when everybody's not on their phones and they're engaged with each other or, at least listening, it makes it just that much more fun.
It's great to detach for a while and really try to focus on the game you're playing with your friends. Now, we've been a little negative so far. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's really rude when you do this. And those things need to be said, especially if you're new to this game. But there are also some things that you can do when you're playing D&D to be more interactive with your party members and to have more fun and make the game go smoothly. So, Kimi, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of tabletop etiquette? What is something players should do when they're playing D&D with their friends or with strangers for the first time?
The first thing that comes to my head is positive recognition of what a character has done. So when somebody makes a really, like you did Tuesday night, just having that positive outlook on it. So my character had to make a wish, and Jamie said out of character, because her character wasn't with ours, but she looked at me, she was like, that's a good wish. That was good. And just having that positive moment of like, yeah, nice roll. Like, yeah, crit. Awesome, or like when somebody does a funny joke in character or whatever and be like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, or they figure out, I don't know, just having that positivity in the group about what your character's doing makes you want to do more with that character. So it's good to just congratulate even something as simple as a passing roll, or even if they fail, be like, you know what, you'll get it next time, or like that's a really hard pass anyway, just kind of those little interactions.
That's a really good point. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to remember that this is a team game. You are working together as a unit. You're not working against each other. You're not trying to accomplish your own goals separate from the group. That's not what D&D is about. You're a party going on a quest to accomplish a shared goal and to help each other. So, as players, you can help each other too. Mm-hmm. Kimi was saying earlier, you can remind people that they have spell slots remaining. Or, oh, do you remember when you got this magic item? Do you want to use that in this situation? And again, you don't want to tell other players what to do, but you can be a helpful and supportive teammate in a way. Mm-hmm. And just to remember that even if in character, your character disagrees with something that somebody is doing, out of character, you can still acknowledge that you're trying to work toward the same goal and that what they're doing is funny or entertaining or is great for the story or something like that. So for example, I have a character that I'm playing right now who is very bipolar, either very good or very bad. I literally flip a coin to see how this character will react to situations. But the longer this character has been with the party, the more mellowed they've become and the closer they are to the party members, so they're not always trying to disagree or attack or ruin the plans of the group. They're still working with them toward a shared goal, and I have tried my best to make sure that even though I'm playing this very polarizing character, that I'm not always ruining the party's goals and getting in the way, and that I'm also still doing my part to be a good team member in character and out of character.
Ooh, that brings up a really good point. So, like, the thing of, well, that's what my character would do. Okay, yes, you need to be in character, and you need to make decisions that your character would do. But when they, are blatantly going against the best wishes of the group, that's when you have to keep those things into check. And you have to realize that it can get frustrating for people when your character, well, my character's a loner, so, well, why have you made a loner character going along with 6 other people in the party?
Right.
Like, if you want to play a character that, with one coming up, I want to do an arcane trickster, and an arcane trickster is really best played on their own for the party. They're doing what's best for the party, but it's really good for them to do stealth rolls, so they have to be by themselves. I'm prepared to sit back and still be engaged with the rest of the group as they go through the party, but I'm also ready that the rest of the group will respect what my character will do as well. I'm not going to try to take up time, but at the same time, I know my character, even though she's going to want to be alone, she's going to have to be with the party a lot of the time, because I don't want to take up their time doing one-on-ones all the time with the DM. But,
True.
Because that's what my character would do. But really, you just take like the best of the group into consideration. And actually, I think it kind of makes for some fun character building. Your character's forced to be with these people, and though, when you imagine them, they won't be, they won't want to be with these people. The longer they're with them, you'll find yourself like, my character would follow them. She now has a reason to, or she now kind of is, like you said, attached to more people. So it's really fun.
Remember that character development is an important aspect of storytelling. And if your character never changes or develops or builds relationships with the other members of the party, then there's no reason for that character to be in this story anymore. They're flat, they're static, they're boring. It's fun to play the sad, edgy boy with the dramatic, devastating backstory, but it's not fun to play another character in a party with that person. So please keep that in mind when you're character building as well.
Definitely.
All right. I think that's going to about wrap it up for us. What do you think, Kimmy?
Yeah, I think we've hit some really good points. I think this would be great, for a newbie, not too sure what is expected of them in a group. This is a great start.
Absolutely. Hopefully we've given you some good tips for how to make the game run smoothly at your table. You can listen to future episodes of Millennial Focus Group now on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. So that's exciting for us.
Woohoo!
We also have an Instagram where you can find us at MFG Podcast. We've been posting videos and pictures on there. You can find us on Twitter at Avocado Toasters, or if you search Millennial Focus Group, we should show up.
Yep.
You can find us on Facebook. We would love some interactions and feedback, what you think of our episodes. What do you think are good tips and tricks for people to know when they're playing D&D with their friends? What are the pet peeves that you just hate when people do these things around the table? And what are things that you think people can do to improve the game playing experience? Please let us know as a comment on our Facebook page, Millennial Focus Group. Also, we have a TikTok now where we like to make skits and post silly videos. And you can find us at MFG Podcast on TikTok as well. All right, I think that's going to do it for us today. We will see you next time, Millennials. Bye.
Bye.